Hello everyone, my name is Todd. I have an out-of-body experience I would like to share with everyone and give you a little bit of a quick backstory about myself because I really don't want to make a long video. I'm trying to be quiet because it's late here and my roommate's trying to sleep. Anyway, back in 2009 when this all happened, I was very severely depressed and suicidal. It's just the things that I did in my life. I was living with my mom. I was like 30 years old. I had my own apartment and job and family and everything. And I pretty much lost it overnight. It drove me into a state of severe depression. I didn't want to live anymore. And the worst thing about it was I knew I was going to lose my kids at any time to CPS, and there was nothing I could do to change it because of how bad my past was and how bad my family's past was. And I didn't want to live in a world without my two boys. And just real quick, I have a very bad lung problem right now, so it's really hard for me to breathe. So please bear with me. Anyway, I grew up in a time where I have a brother and two sisters, and our mom, she loved to party, and she let us do whatever we want. We stay up late on school nights, have our girlfriends over, boyfriends over, whatever. Smoke cigarettes, do drugs, smoke weed, and do hard drugs, and we weren't even 18 yet. We were preteens or just teenagers, and we thought we had the best life. But who were we kidding, right? Anyway, fast forward 2009. Like I said, I knew I was going to lose my kids at any minute, and I didn't want to live anymore. One late night, it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. My mom was asleep in her bedroom, and I decided that I did not want to live anymore. And I had a rifle. I wasn't allowed to have a gun, but I had one anyway, because I was a convicted felon. Anyway, I had this rifle. I was sitting on the couch. All the lights were off except the computer screen that lit up the living room. There's a small 2-bedroom apartment that my mom had. Anyways, I'm sitting there. I pull out the rifle. I put it up under my chin, and I'm thinking that I really want to end it. But what stopped me was my mom sleeping in her bedroom. I didn't want my mom waking up after hearing gunshot and seeing her son deceased. So that stopped me, and I started bawling and crying, and I put the gun away. I think I put it under the couch at the time. Some of the details were real fuzzy, but a lot of the details still stick out, just like it happened yesterday. And reason why I remember this so well is because it was traumatizing, and it also was very vivid and very real. So I put the gun away. I'm sitting on the couch. I sit back on the couch, and I used to mess with witchcraft and Ouija boards and stuff like that back in the day, and I'm not proud of it, but just so you know where I'm going with this, I called out to the spirits, guardians of the earth, whatever spirits that would hear my cry and help me. I'm never going to repeat this because it is a form of witchcraft, what I said out loud. So anyway, I called out to these spirits, whoever could hear me, whoever would come help me. And as soon as I did, I absorbed all the pain, suffering, all the hurt that I was feeling, and absorbed all that, and I balled up on the couch and cried myself to sleep. I thought, well, I don't remember going to sleep. The next thing I remember is I woke up in this place, and I know it was the gateway to the pit. That's what I call it. But I did a quick drawing, real fast sketch of what it looks like, so you can visualize a little bit about it. And here in a second, I'll put it up to show you. Anyways, I ended up in this place, and I was in my street clothes, just the same clothes I was wearing before I went to sleep. Anyway, I knew it was an out-of-body experience because how vivid and real it was. In this place, it was more like underground or in a dungeon of sorts. There was this like red brick on the left side, and there's these small torches mounted to the wall, and these chains hanging down from the ceiling. And the top of the ceiling you couldn't see because it was like a black void. Anyway, the room was not a big room. And here's a drawing so you can see what I'm talking about. The floor was steel. I know this because of the way it felt and the way it looked. It was very cold. And one of the things is I was on my stomach in my street clothes on the floor. And anyways, what you see here, this on the right side of me, this blackness, I don't remember anything being there. I think it was a black void. But in front of me was this hole in the ground, and there was this big steel lid. It was very thick, and it was partially open, and it went down to what I call the pit. And it was a place that nobody wants to go. I especially didn't want to go there. I still felt all the negative emotions and all the negative thoughts I had, and I felt very ashamed at the time of myself and the way I lived my life. And I knew that wherever I was going to go, I belonged there. Anyway, up in front of me, there's these three beings. This whole room wasn't lit very well. Like I said, there was just torch light. It was like being in your house by a candle. That's how dim it was. But up in front of me was these three beings, and one in the middle was all dressed in white, and I knew it was Jesus. I can only see the backside of him. His back was facing me. He was communicating with two other beings, but they were really black, and I didn't know what they were talking about. But behind him, where the light stopped, it was just, I think, a black void, and I don't even know how far it went. But anyways, I'm laying there on the steel floor, and this pit's right in front of me, and I look up and I realize these three beings are there. So anyways, I'm like I said, I'm ashamed, and I'm very curious right now at the time, because I'm like, that's Jesus. That's Jesus from the Bible. Oh my God, that is Jesus. That is the Jesus. And I'm freaking out. At the same time, I'm like, I can't believe that's really Jesus. Like, he's real. So I peek up at him, and as soon as I do, there's this invisible force, I call it, because I don't know what else it was. This invisible force came over me, and as soon as I looked at him, it said, "You are not worthy," and it shoved me back to the ground. And mind you, my face is about an inch or two from this cold steel floor, and I'm, like I said, for the third or fourth time, I'm very ashamed, but at the same time, I'm very curious. So I try to peek up at Jesus again because I'm so curious. I want to see him. And as soon as I peek up at him again, there's this force. It said, "You are not worthy." It got louder, and it shoved me back to the ground even harder than the first time. And I knew that that I'm not worthy to even look at Jesus, not even from the backside. So I try to peek at him one more time. And as soon as I peek at him, this force comes over me again. It's louder than the other two times, and it says, "You are not worthy," and it shoves me very hard back to the ground. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I'm waking up the next day on the couch, and I can't believe what just happened to me. But the other experience was it tied to this, because I have to stop for a second. I have to give you a little insight on what the next story is, because I worked at this bakery. Not going to say what kind of place this was, where it was, but about 6 months before all this happened, there's this guy that used to work there, and he worked with me, and he was like a gangbanger of sorts. He wore he didn't like authority at all. He didn't like the cops, and I understood why, but the way he dressed was in designer clothes. I'm like, we didn't make much money, and we had tips too, so we didn't make very much money. So he had to be getting his source from elsewhere, his clothes from elsewhere, and his money. And also, me and my friend that worked there knew he was stealing from the cash register, and I wasn't going to turn him in, but my friend did. He told the owner one day, and I think that led up to this series of events which followed next. Well, I remember one day we were out on break, and I can't give his full name because I don't want anybody to realize who this guy was, because this story made national news, and everybody couldn't believe it happened. But I was outside with him one day. We were smoking a joint. We didn't have any customers, and I was like, "Hey, Eric, so why don't you stop living like you're living, man? It's obviously not healthy and stuff." And that's the way I was talking to him. I don't know my exact words at the time, but it was pretty close to what I'm saying now. And he looked at me he's like, "Todd, you don't understand how I live. You don't understand what goes on in my life. Da-da-da-da-da." And he feel like he was being attacked from me. And I was just trying to help him. So, anyways, fast forward a couple months later, he lost his job because he was stealing from a register. And I guess he went in a downward spiral, because we seen him in a newspaper one day, and we seen what he did. It was all over the news. I guess he took a girl hostage and had a standoff with the police. Well, he shot at the cops and killed one of them, so the cops opened fire and killed him on the spot. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of what happened the next day. Sorry to bounce around a lot in this story, but when I woke back up on the couch, I had to go to work. So I'm like, I only had about an hour to get to work. I didn't really want to go, but it was the only way I was making money at the time. So I went to work. It was a Wednesday. I think I had to be there at noon. And I got there like 10 minutes before, something like that, before I had to be there. And I was working for a little while. Didn't have any customers, and I thought it was odd. A couple hours passed. I still didn't have any customers. And for being a Wednesday, we were usually a lot busier than this. So anyway, I finally see a car pull up. And it struck me odd because it was like a white Ford Taurus. At the time, it was kind of newer. And just the way it pulled into the parking spot was different. I thought it was very weird. So this lady gets out, and the way she's dressed throws me off because it looks like she's on a safari in Africa or something, but she's a big, tall, heavy-set Jamaican lady. The reason why I say she's like Jamaican is because the yellowing in her eyes or something. But anyways, she had this like hat on with a string hanging down. It looked like a safari hat. And she was wearing these khaki shorts with this white long sleeve button-up shirt tucked into her shorts. She walked in. I said, "Hey, how's it going?" She didn't say anything to me. She just looked at me kind of weird. I'm like, okay. So she went over to where the soda cooler was. And right where the soda cooler was, we have these LA Fitness forms for the gym. That was a couple doors down. I guess it's for a membership or something. You can sign your name and your address information, put it in the box. Whatever it was, I don't really remember. Anyway, at the time when she's over there doing what she's doing, can't really make it out at the time. But I get hit with like 5 or 6 customers. And I thought it was odd. They all come in at the same time. So I'm trying to pay attention to what she's doing. And I got all these people ordering donuts and coffee. So I'm trying to serve them as fast as I can so I can see what's up with this woman. This strange woman. Anyway, at the corner of my eye, she starts walking over closer to me, and I'm helping this guy. And she cuts in front of everybody in line. And she looks dead in my eyes, and she goes, she points down at my tip jar with her index finger. And she whispers and says, "Message for you." And I thought that was really weird. It kind of threw everybody off. So she walked out and drove off. Well, I couldn't wait to get everybody taken care of so I could see what she put in my tip jar. Okay, so everybody gets taken care of and everybody leaves, so I'm all by myself again. And I reached down in a tip jar, and there's this piece of paper that was all folded up. It was on the back of one of those LA Fitness forms, and like I said, I'm not going to give away any names or anything, just the first name. But what the note said, it struck me with chills. And what it said was Eric, and it had his middle name and his last name, which I won't say it. And it was in quotation marks like he was speaking. And it says, "Don't end up where he's at." And I thought, wow. And at the top right-hand corner, signed diagonally, was this thing that said High Priest of Obey, which is Obeah. And I kind of looked it up. I didn't really dive too much into it, but I found out it was voodoo. And this lady was a witch, some kind of messenger. And a lot of people that I tell this story to asked me, "Why don't you check the camera? Why didn't you check the camera at the time? Maybe she wasn't real." I said, "I don't know. She was driving a car. She was probably real." Okay. I thought how she moved and everything was very odd. It wasn't like other people, but anyway. A lot of people don't believe me about that happening, and I used to pray all the time about Eric, about the guy. Like, I was in this dark spot, and in my dark spot, I mean, he's reaching from beyond the grave, giving me a message saying, "Hey, don't come to where I am. You're not going to like it," pretty much. So I used to pray to God and say, "Hey, God, please give Eric his wings." You know, I used to pray all the time. And because what he's done for me is trying to push me in the right direction. And no, I haven't, after this experience happened, I didn't go and live for God or Jesus. I was really depressed, and I got more heavily into drugs and rebellion and everything. And I was really selfish at the time, but I didn't realize it until years later. But now, so what has Jesus done for me now? Well, Jesus has taken that darkness away from me. He has taken the evil thoughts out of my head. He's brightened up my life. I'm not a drug addict anymore. I'm not that person I used to be. And every day I get more in my Bible. I get more into the Word of God. I want to preach the gospel now. I want to be pure like kids are pure. Because I remember back in the day when I was just a little kid, before I was 10 years old, when my mom used to put us in Sunday school, I remember my relationship with God. I remember how pure I was. And I miss that so much. And when I do pray, I do ask God, purify my heart, purify my soul. Please, I miss that relationship with you, God. I want to be back in your light. And I ask Jesus to take over my life. He's the only way, man. And I used to know that Jesus and God were real, but I never believed with faith that he was real. And there's a big difference. Okay? And if whatever trauma or things you're going through in your life, and you think that nobody cares and you don't have a right to live, or you don't want to live anymore, just look back to what happened to me. Because I don't wish that on anybody, and I shouldn't be here today. I should have been in that pit, and I'd still be there today, forever. And I just want people to know that you ain't got to be in that dark spot, man. There's somebody out there that's been through a lot worse, or maybe it hasn't been through what you're going through, but you ain't got to live like that, man. There's people out here for you. I got a lot of experiences. They all have to deal with demonic and negative experiences because of what I partook in when I was younger. And I'll have more videos coming. I work a lot and I have a hard time breathing, so please bear with me, and I hope this video will help somebody in need. If you're in a dark spot, please get right with God. We don't have much time. Jesus is coming, people. You gotta wake up now. Don't get sucked into the ways of the world. Please don't. I did. And the Holy Spirit's been convicting me. Used to convict me every time I did something bad. Be like, oh, you don't want to live. Just voices would come into my head and tell me, I'm like, why do I keep thinking this every time I'm doing something bad? Well, every time since I quit sinning, and I'm not saying I'm perfect now. Don't get me wrong, I'm far from perfect, but I'm trying. And I'm trying to be right with God. And we should all be striving to be pure and love one another. If everybody did God's will and the commandments, this world would be a better place. And that's a fact. Okay? A lot of things are going to happen coming soon. And I just want the best for people. You're all my brothers and sisters. I love you all. Okay, a couple years ago, I would have never said this to anybody. I would have never said what I'm saying now to people. I'd be like, I was in a totally different spot. I was in a dark place. And I'm not anymore. And it's because of the experiences I've had. That's got me to where I am now. And every day, Jesus and God are brightening up my life and making it better for me. Stay tuned. I have more videos to come, more content. And I'm working on my videos and my presentations. Please subscribe if you want to see more. If you want to hear more, I can go all night with these experiences I've had. Anyways, God bless you. I love you all. Bye.